Hello and welcome to the Post Debate Show. My name is Holly Holiday. I am the president of Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote, and I want to bring on my board member, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, to help kick us off. Good evening, Dr. Avis. Well, we had another debate.
We did. We did have another debate, and it was a historic debate, was it not?
It was one for the record books, that's for sure. I kept wanting to invoke Maxine Waters and reclaim time for Senator Harris.
Exactly. I mean, it was very plain that Pence had a campaign strategy, or at least a debate strategy, to habitually just run rampant over the rules, just like Trump did, we'll remember, in the last debate, but just in a kinder, gentler way. But he still was not.
Same playbook.
Exactly.
I'm not going to waste any time talking to you because I can't wait for this conversation. So I'm going to let you introduce our moderator for our first panel, and let's get this conversation started.
All right. So we are super excited here to have an unapologetically bold and Black woman conversation following this historic debate, in which this is the first that we have witnessed of having a Black woman on the ticket and in the arena as a vice presidential candidate in this debate season. And it is amazing that we have, for you, compiled an amazing panel of Black women to analyze exactly what you saw. I think it's very important to also acknowledge that we have media partners here that are all Black owned. So this is a place where you're not going to have anyone pulling punches. This is a place where you're not going to have anyone worried about, can they say this or might they say that? This is where we can be transparent and free to express our opinions about what we just witnessed and all the Black woman brilliance that we just saw displayed for the world to see. So with my pleasure, I am so excited to introduce to you the moderator for our very first panel, Dr. Christina Greer, and she will introduce the panelists and we will get this party started.
Thank you so much, Dr. Avis. I am so happy and proud to be here with my esteemed panelists. I have Jataka Eddy, who's the founder and CEO of Full Circle Strategies. I've got Tiffany Laughlin, who's the director for the Youth and College Division at the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and also Star Jones, attorney, author, and advocate. Welcome, ladies. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. That was a lot of fun. It's good to see you, sis.
Great to see you too. Wait, do I have everyone? Can I get everyone together, or is it just one at a time? Oh, Angela Escobar, how are you?
How are you, sis?
You know, plans change, so
we make things work.
We make it work all the time, clearly, as we did this evening. And then I think we have one more. Okay, Jataka's not here yet. So, ladies, let's just get started. What are some of the highlights? Tiffany, I'll start with you. I think a lot of people. So let me frame my question.
We're on highlights. Tonight was good. Go ahead.
Right, because listen, as my grandmother would say, you know, Michael Pence knows how to lie like hot knife on a butter. He's very different from the president in that he interrupts, but it's not a belligerent style of interrupting. But he still interrupts. He lies, but it's not the belligerent style of lying. It's that smooth style of lying. He's got a long history as an executive when he was governor of Indiana. He's a radio personality. He knows how to control a narrative, and he understands that Donald Trump is watching him. So he's been very clear and deliberate in maintaining the messaging and the lies that they've had for the last 4 years. So, Tiffany, with all that being said, you know, the MVP of the night were the dual conversations that Kamala Harris was having, one with her voice, the other with her face. There were a few faces that all of us recognized. It's like, ooh, Pence, you in danger, honey. So what was your highlight this evening of seeing Senator Harris, soon to be Vice President Harris, dismantle some of the arguments of Vice President Pence?
So let's start with what's most important. The moment that we're sitting in right now in the year 2020, watching a Black woman on the debate stage for the very first time speaks volumes about our legacy and our history. Our ancestors are smiling right now because of the level of accomplishment this Black woman has reached on the stage to not only speak truth to power, but to debate and to articulate policies, practices, and plans that help our community and our country move forward. So that's the first highlight. I sat here and I said to myself, do I really, like, yes, elections are 27 days away, but can we sit and grasp in the abundance of Black women, divine femininity for 2 seconds and appreciate where we're at right now and the role that Black women have played to put her on the stage and the role that we're going to continue to play to follow through November 3rd. The second thing that was a highlight for me tonight was the actual plan. Last week when I watched the debates, there was no plan. It was just debating back and forth. It was badgering back and forth. It was insults back and forth across the stage. And tonight I actually got to hear very clearly from Senator Kamala Harris, we are going to cut student loan debt by $10,000. We are going to have a plan around the vaccine and healthcare. We're going to have a plan around policies and education. We're going to have a plan really clearly on rolling back voter suppression to make sure everybody can participate. We heard those plans tonight. I didn't hear the plan from what Pence was giving us. What I heard from Pence was Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Trump, 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 Trump. I also got to hear from Senator Kamala Harris why she's running in the position and what qualifies her. And I tweeted it earlier. She got the receipts, honey. She said, I am the Attorney General. Second Black woman elected to the Senate. I focused on this. I've ran that. I've done the second largest judicial system in the entire country, only second to the federal government's judicial system. And Pence didn't give us that because he ain't got it. So yes, I enjoyed watching another Black woman and some of the similar cultural norms that I have with the face. But sometimes only I can understand. We can understand those things. Other audience viewers might. What they took away tonight was clear plans and policy. We heard how Pence and them are not prepared and how much they hate Obama, how much they hate Joe Biden, which is not helpful in the campaign race, and how important it was for us to acknowledge, because Pence said it himself, it is a privilege sitting on the stage with her. And it ought to be, because she's the first Black woman to do it.
Right. And thank you for that, Tiffany, because I think it needs to be a reminder where, sometimes Kamala Harris does it so well that people forget that, she stands on a legacy. I mean, Carol Moseley Braun is the only other Black woman who's ever been elected to the U.S. Senate. And as we know, there have been 0 Black women ever elected to being governor of any state in the United States. So Audra, as a strategist, how did you feel? What were some of the highlights for you this evening, knowing what we saw last week with the abysmal performance of the president, the moderator, and the chaos that so many people witnessed, where we couldn't really get a clear conversation about policy, where we couldn't really get a clear conversation about Joe Biden's reputation in the Senate and what he did and how he served Barack Obama for 8 years. So what are some of your thoughts tonight?
Oh, gosh. I think Tiff shared many of the same thoughts that I have. I think that she displayed why she is a woman of many firsts. I think that she clearly articulated why she is qualified to become Madam Vice President. I think one of the things that she said that was so important for us to take away is the fact that they forfeited their right to a reelection. That for me really stuck out. She talked about how, nearly 210,000 people are dead. She talked about how many people are struggling financially. She talked about the fact that people who are working people, are standing on food lines just trying to be able to sustain themselves. So for me, I think it was the fact that she pointed to the facts, the reality that she drew a very stark contrast between why a Biden-Harris presidency is what we need now versus more of what we currently have. She is brilliant. She is credentialed. But like you sort of alluded to, she is still a sister. And she, you watched her face. I'm an applied behavior analyst by training. And so watching body language and things like that is always fascinating to me. So, he is, better behaved for all intents and purposes than a Trump. But for her to be able to sit there with him telling bold-faced lies repeatedly, and say them with such conviction that, if you didn't know any better, you would believe them. I think that, there were times when she had to laugh at them because it was just like, are we talking about the same thing? I mean, he says his lies, with such conviction. So for me, I think it was really her making the case for why she should become Madam Vice President. That was my key takeaway for tonight.
Indeed. And the ways that she had to keep reminding him that I will not sit here and be lectured by the likes of you, sir. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
You have no qualifications to lecture me. I want to bring in Terry Carmichael Jackson. Thank you so much for being with us. Terry, now you're with the WNBA Players Association. So first things first, I want to thank you for your leadership, because we've seen the WNBA has led so many important conversations about Black women and politics in this political moment. And I'm just going to take moderator's privilege and know that you had a hand in pushing forward some of these important conversations and uplifting the life of Breonna Taylor, especially for the WNBA. So on behalf of Black women who are tuning in, I think I can rightfully say thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. I started with asking Tiffany and Adjoa, what were some of the highlights? I mean, Tiffany walked us through the receipts on receipts, and Adjoa walked through the qualifications of Senator Harris and really framing why she deserved to not only be on that stage, but to serve the American people as Vice President of the United States. What were some highlights for you, Terry?
Well, thank you, first of all, Christina and Adjoa and Tiffany for letting me into this conversation. I want to run and jump in and join you all with some of the thoughts that I had. As you all have just said, she came in and talked about the plan from day one and what the response would be to COVID, which all of us have been wondering and waiting for from this Trump administration. And like Adjoa said, they forfeited that right. She came in credentialed, but she also talked about, just being so relatable. I mean, she is a sister, daughter, stepmom, auntie, she is all of us. And that just really resonated with me. And if there's anybody out there who is still undecided, they needed to have seen this debate. This one was historic for so many reasons that you all have already said. This one was key. This one talked about the issues. Something that really, in addition to the response to the pandemic on day one, in addition to talking about reducing student debt and making, public education for affordable for everybody or free for those that are coming from households of $125,000 or less. I mean, she also talked about, as a vice president would, she also talked about foreign policy. And she broke it down again in a way that was so relatable, the way she and Joe were talking about it. It is about relationships. It is about standing with your friends, identifying who is loyal, who is with you, knowing who your adversaries are, and keeping them close. But what did she say? In check. She's ready. She is ready on day one. And I almost need day one. I think all of us need day one to be tomorrow. Yes. Yes. Tomorrow. Yes. Tomorrow.
So here's the thing, though, ladies, because Tiffany started us off really framing it about the role of Black women and the role that we have continued to play, not just in the Democratic Party, but quite honestly, upholding democracy, right? Yeah. We are the canaries in the mine. We are the ones who have had to explain to constituencies time and time again the dangers that particular people or policies pose to us as Black women, but also to our communities. We do know that we are a very diverse community, and we still have some people who are undecided, not necessarily undecided between Biden and Trump, but possibly undecided as to whether or not they're going to participate or abstain. And so we know that there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation that continues to seep into our communities through Facebook and other means about Senator Harris's past record that Pence tried to bring up. So Tiffany, I want you to start us off again. What was missing from tonight's debate that you want to make sure that our viewers tonight understand so that they can go back and talk to their friends and family members and possibly sorority sisters and coworkers and colleagues? Was there anything that needed to be clarified on your end, ladies, or something that needs to be expanded, or maybe something that just didn't come up in this particular debate that we know still needs to be addressed, so that we can motivate our constituencies, we can motivate our friends and family members to make sure that they not only turn out during this early voting period, But if they don't have that option, they turn out on November 3rd to make sure that we change the course of this democracy.
Oh my gosh, we do not have enough time. Okay, so I want to agree with what Terry said, definitely about folks who may have been undecided last week, but should actually get the decision that they want to make watching this last debate. But let me be very clear. Nobody should ever be undecided about the agenda that they have for their communities. As a young Black woman, I'm 31 years old. I am very clear about what my community needs and what I'm looking for. And the question that I'm going to ask myself is, which ticket at this very moment, one, is closest to my agenda, and two, which ticket is movable to get my agenda, right? This is not about a particular candidate or party. And so when I'm talking to my young Black people in the NAACP as they are organizing 25,000 strong across the country, that is our frame of reference. Because if we just focus on what we saw last week, I know why people don't want to vote. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's clear. So we have to make sure we connect people's personal experiences to the decisions at the ballot box. And what I want people to walk away with, to answer your question, is to make sure that we fact check on our own. We cannot sit and watch the media. We cannot sit and watch the debate and expect to receive all the answers for our agenda. So what I'm going to do is I want to write down the things that I care most deeply about. Healthcare. Senator Kamala Harris said it today. A woman should be able to choose what she's going to do with her own body, and not white men and not men, period. I want to make sure that education is affordable and accessible for all of my folks in my community. I want to make sure that we hold police accountable and defund the police and fund prevention, not criminalization. I want to go down the list. And then I want to go to the websites and I want to read what their plans are going to be. I did not hear from Pence at all today how they plan to make higher education more accessible and affordable for anybody. When I was in college, they increased student tuition 32%. And I still have student loans that I have to pay off right now. I did not hear the next plan for the stimulus round, right? We know that the Congress is taking a break, and President Trump has said that he does not want to talk about it until he gets reelected. So if we really want to talk about low-income families and families that have been laid off during the pandemic, we have to focus on how are we going to stimulate the economy? And the only way I'm going to be able to get that and double check it for my reference is by going online and researching it myself. So people should walk away from the debates with a better understanding of what that agenda is and how the candidates match up to it. But we ought to walk into our communities, knock on doors. The NAACP is texting millions of people. We're making phone calls to millions of people. We're sending letters in the mail to millions of people to make sure that they have what they need. You can visit vote.org to check your status, to register to vote, to fill out the census. It is up to us to make these decisions, and it's up to us, especially Black women who have always done it, to make sure that our communities are in good standing before November 3rd.
Thank you. And I want to repeat that. I want to repeat vote.org is where people should go to check their registration status and get the information they need to know. Terry, give me 1 second, because I want to pull Audra in as a strategist and answer that question. We have limited time. I also want to point to, this is my late grandfather's NAACP card that I did not know he was a member of the NAACP. So I just want to shout that out. That is a framed card of the NAACP from the state of Florida. Right. So Audra and Terry, though, what was there anything that was missing that needed to be expanded that we want to make sure people have the tools so that when folks are still undecided in one way or the other? Terry, you said you seemed like you had something you wanted to share. What should we say?
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick because my connection to this conversation, I'm here in my personal capacity, but as you mentioned, I am the executive director of the union that represents the WNBA players who are going to be working in partnership with the NAACP to create some more of those videos, to put that really good messaging, good information out there in targeted ways to targeted communities around the country. One thing that I think I wanted to hear more of, and she tried to get it in there, but the moderator was really sticking close to that time, was to hear more about the senator's background as a prosecutor. Because they're trying to come at her, from this, or come at the ticket from, they're about law and order, and Biden and Harris were going to let the cities, kind of run loose and run rampant. But you know what? She's a prosecutor that understands law and order. She understands about police reform, and something else that Tiffany talked about is defunding the police. I really want us to educate the voters about what that means and what we're talking about, what the reforms are. When we were talking about the Say Her Name campaign during the season and talking about Breonna Taylor, we were talking about warrants, and we were talking about We were talking about body cams. So those are all the reforms that I wish she could have talked about or had the opportunity to talk about more. But that's what she's about. That's what she represents. And so when we say defund the police, let's really make it an informed conversation about what those policy initiatives look like. And I know we're short on time.
Adjoa, so thank you, Terry. I really appreciate that. Adjoa, what are some takeaways and possibly gaps that you want to fill in these last 3 minutes or so?
So I think she did a brilliant job of weaving in so much. And I think my other two fellow esteemed panelists touched on many of those issues. I want to take it back to COVID. She said, whatever they are claiming to do hasn't worked. So they keep talking about these plans that they have and things that they're going to do, and you've had a chance to do them. And what you've done so far hasn't worked. So I think that she really made a very strong case for what a Biden and Harris administration would do in terms of moving us forward and getting us out of this pandemic. The pandemic has disproportionately impacted Black and brown folks. For me, that is critically important. For us to get back to any semblance of normalcy, we can't have, for example, a healthy economy if we have a sick workforce. So her really, pointing to the stark contrast between how they have mishandled, mismanaged, and completely disregarded in some cases, including knowing about the pandemic and how deadly it was prior to, acknowledging it. I think that was a really critical point. And so we desperately, desperately need an administration that is not anti-science and will actually allow the science to dictate how we move forward.
Ladies, I wish we had more time. I want to thank you all so much for joining me and educating our viewers this evening. For those of you who don't have a voting plan, I beg of you, please come up with one for yourself, your family members, your friends, your colleagues. Go to vote.org if you're still confused about your voting status to make sure you're registered. Make sure if you have an early voting option to exercise that option. If you don't, November 3rd, that is Tuesday, November 3rd, is the day of the election. But voting is going on in states across the country right now. So thank you all so much. Stay safe. Please just stay healthy. And thank you all so much for the work that you do. I appreciate you. Dr. Avis, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Now, did I not promise a fire panel? That was a fire panel. Thank you so much, Dr. Greer. Amazing, amazing panel. And we have more coming up. You know what? We have brilliance on overload because in the second panel, we have your boy, Roland Martin, who you know is going to bring the funk. And so I'm excited to hear what Roland's panel's take will be on this historic evening and this debate. So with that said, I'm going to introduce the amazing Roland Martin, and he will introduce his panelists and get this party started. Hey, Roland. Uh-oh, you seem to be... Check your audio. Let's see here. Well, I'm sure that they're going to get his audio fixed in just a second. While they are working on that, let's just carry on with the discussion for a second. So I have to say, this particular night was amazing. And as was mentioned in the previous panel.
All right, Avis.
Oh, there you go. We got it.
Well, actually, what we did, so let's just do this here. I had this microphone here. So let me take this one off. For some reason, it's not picking up the microphone on my Blackmagic, but that's why I got to back up. So
I'm not going to ask what your Blackmagic is, Roland.
ATM Blackmagic switcher. So that allows for us to be able to broadcast. Not quite sure why that is breaking up. A little picture there, but we all good. Okay. So let me just give me a second.
No worries. That was my version of a corner.
Back up lavalier microphone. So we got that. All the folks who are watching on Instagram, y'all need to go to the page, my Facebook page, for our post-debate analysis. We about to break this thing down with Yotaka Edie as well as with Latasha Brown with Black Voters Matter. Are they there, Avis?
They should be there. I think we're waiting just on Latasha. So let's just have a few minutes of a conversation. So
right.
as you're getting sort of wrapped up and we're getting everybody straight there, let's talk a little bit more about what we heard from the first panel and what we saw this evening. Of course, we saw a Mike Pence that was ditching and dodging, and as was mentioned in that previous panel, lying as smooth as silk. But I am so proud of the way that Senator Harris comported herself in that situation. Let's just say the unspoken truth here. She would be judged from a different lens. She is projecting a image that we've never seen in this nation. We know that misogyny exists. We know that racism exists. So she, in all, reality, doesn't have the same latitude, perhaps, of someone who was a different gender and a different race might have in terms of expressing exasperation. So she comported herself with dignity the entire time. She definitely made clear that she was speaking, which I love that. We saw that look. I'm sure that all of us have seen that look at some point in our lives. But she demanded respect, but she did so in a way in which I think that she would still be someone that the nation could see in the role of president. And I would just like to sort of add on in terms of that very last discussion that, in terms of her going through her litany of very, very huge qualifications, once again, I think it's something that it's unfortunate that she had to do that, but I do think she had to do it because a lot of people may not know about her background, number one, in as much detail as she was able to share tonight. But secondly, let's also just be very real. This would be historic to have a vice president that is a Black woman who is literally just one heartbeat away from the presidency. So as this nation makes a decision about casting their vote, they are doing so knowing that at any moment with a Biden-Harris ticket, we might in fact see a transfer of power to a Black woman. And so she had to take that moment, I believe, to go ahead and make known that, yes, she is more than qualified to step into that role at any given moment and shine. And with that, I think we are ready to transfer back to Roland so that we can get the second panel started, if I'm not mistaken. I'm hoping that everything is working over there with the audio.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Perfect. All right, so let's get the party started for the second panel.
All right, so appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Again, we've got our folks who are ready to share with you, ready to have a conversation. LaTosha Brown, she is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. She's been traveling all across the country, and so they've been handling their business, reaching out, talking to voters, trying to get them focused and motivated, getting to the polls. Also, I mess with her all the time with her name, Joe Taka. Some of y'all call her Joe Taka. I mess with her, call it. She's from South Carolina. She's a little upset because my Texas A&M Aggies are used to beating the hell out of her Gamecocks, so she's a little sore with me. So she'll get over it. They're going to lose again this year. She's the founder and CEO of Full Circle Strategies. All right, folks, let's get right into it. Before I give my perspective on tonight's debate, what do y'all think about what took place tonight, vice presidential debate in Salt Lake City, Utah, between Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris?
It was something to behold. To be honest, I'm so frustrated. I'm frustrated, and I don't know why, because I should have expected that. It is a shame that we can't have a real, honest conversation around real issues. Pence came out, the very first thing that came out of his mouth was a lie. He came to this debate disingenuous. I felt like there was a lot of things that he did that was very upsetting. One, every single question he went over time. He did exactly the same thing that Trump did it. He just did it nicer, right? He was just calm, but he took more time. He kept mansplaining to Kamala Harris. And then on top of that, he continued to even really be able to be disrespectful. I felt like it was the quintessential example of how white male privilege operates in this country.
I would absolutely have to agree with my sister LaTosha. As I watched tonight over and over again, he just kept going over his time. He tried to mansplain. I mean, he even tried to tell her about her own record. And, over and over again, he did not give her the adequate time. And I think it's evident of what Black women have to face in this country all too often. And I think although and despite everything that she faced tonight and his utter disrespect, all the lies that he shared, I thought she was strong. She was very strong. She made a very clear case to the contrast of what a Biden-Harris administration will do as it relates to the coronavirus and COVID. She made it very clear that there's been a lot at stake, 210,000 lives. I heard that over and over again. And as someone who has had family members in the hospital who have been struck with COVID, I heard her loud and clear, and I thought she spoke to the American people. She was very clear. She stood her ground. She was strong, and she made the clear contrast between, the choice that America has. Do we want more of this mismanagement and this mess that we found ourselves in, or do we want a better direction?
All right, so let me break this thing down. So here's what you have here. Mike Pence did exactly what Mike Pence was supposed to do. Mike Pence was always going to be smooth. He was always going to be even-tempered. That's who he was always going to be. He was always going to sit here and represent Donald Trump in every single way. Here's what I think the advisor of Senator Kamala Harris said: do no harm. The vice presidential candidate, that's what that particular job is, to do no harm to the candidate. After what took place last week, Joe Biden got a significant bounce out of that particular debate. And so people were talking about, oh, Harris is going to wipe him with the floor. Nope, because there was no need to actually prosecute it. I think if you look at exactly what do the coaches say, smile a whole lot, don't be combative, and simply stick to the rules. He chose not to stick to the rules. You saw at times exactly sort of how she responded. Mike Pence, again, what was his job to do? His job was to press and be on the attack. Of course, he was going to sit here and make the lies. She had to make a decision. Do I fact check you, or do I also stay focused on my deal? I do believe, though, that there were several moments where she could have been a bit more forceful and actually adjudicated herself differently. So, for instance, when he talked about, you look at the top of the debate, she kept coming back to, on January 28th, y'all said this. She said it 3 times. My deal was, I had it the first time. In terms of now, it's like narrow those answers down and begin to say, what is that we didn't have? You didn't have PPE. You're lying when it comes to saying that the stockpile was left empty. That's not true. President Barack Obama left 16,000 ventilators. And all of a sudden, like, boom, boom, boom. You ignore Fauci. You disregard him. You disregard the CDC. And so what we didn't hear was saying how they have totally forced the FDA to change their rules. That was one of those things where you were head of the coronavirus task force. Why is it that you had no control of that particular task force? Why did Jared Kushner come in and then cut these deals, spending billions of dollars for ventilators that don't even work? And so again, when you look at what their respective roles were, Pence needed to shore up what the weakness was last week. Their deal with Harris, hey, we had a great first debate. We don't need anybody messing that up. And yeah, Susan Page was absolutely weak. Okay, Susan, I did not think we could have a moderator worse than Chris Wallace, but Susan Page was worse than Chris Wallace.
And I'm going to push back on that because I think that she had good questions. I'm going to push back on that. One, I actually think Susan had good questions. I think I agree. I think she had much better questions than Chris Wallace. But I think that in this space, I think that there's a couple of things too, Roland, that I disagree with. Even in terms of Kamala saying that you repeat something, that's a strategy that even the strategy that even Trump uses. If we're talking about strategy, repetition is actually a strategy to make things stick with folks. If you give too much information, too many facts, too long, people won't remember that. Folks are going to remember that in January, this administration knew that this virus was here. I actually think that was effective. I think on Susan's part, while I do think that she could have been stronger, let me say something about white male patriarchy, right? White male privilege. He literally used that. He almost bullied her in a sense, right? Literally, I even hold the election commission accountable, because if you saw this last week, there should have been more control to be able to cut off, literally be able to cut off the mic.
They had it
over and over.
They had it.
At some level, she had it.
They had it. Here's the deal. This is what happened. Pence kept talking. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. No, this is where you say, excuse me, Mr. Vice President, your time is up. I am now moving to Senator Kamala Harris. You agreed to the rules, and so therefore I'm going to enforce them. She kept going, thank you, Mr. Vice President. And then what she would then do is he would just keep talking, and then she would just go, okay, go ahead. As the moderator, you have to say, excuse me. This is where you say, excuse me. You have been given your time. I've allowed you to finish. It is now her time. Susan didn't want to be firm. Here's what they do.
I agree.
Oh, I don't want to sit here. It's the vice president. No, you're the moderator. Because guess what? Gwen Ifill would have done that. Christian Welker, I think, is going to do it. Maybe that's a black woman thing. Maybe that's a black thing.
Who was moderating that debate in South Carolina?
Right. I was about to give you some South Carolina love.
Let's talk about Judy. Yes.
I was going to give you some South Carolina love. The sister who moderated that debate between Lindsey Graham and Jamie Harrison. Oh, she wasn't playing. She was like, we have time. Harrison, next question. She was not playing.
But let me say this, and this isn't, let me say this, that our engagement of coming up against white patriarchal power is very different from white women counterparts oftentimes. And so and so I agree with you. You're absolutely right, Roland. She did not control that room in that space, right? My challenge and what my fear is that we're not going to hold because Pence showed up with the wolf in sheep clothing, monotone, that we're not going to show up, that he was equally as disrespectful and disruptive as Trump was. That is a fundamental strategy of
But here's the difference.
Let's talk over that.
But here's the difference. The difference was tone.
I want to jump in here. Excuse me. I want to jump in here because my grandmama always said that just because you calm with your lies, it doesn't mean that it's still not a lie. So, I mean, he sat there he did not answer questions.
That's right.
He deflected, and Roland, you said that she had an opportunity to prosecute. You don't need to prosecute somebody who's just going to perjure themselves. So he sat there and he perjured himself over and over again. And so I think that her strategy, as Latasha shared, her strategy was right on. She spoke to the American people. She reminded us that this administration has failed over and over and over again. When she had the opportunity, she set the record straight. And I think that what was clear, what she laid out was that this administration actually has a strategy. They have mismanaged. She talked about the jobs that are lost. There are 400,000 businesses that are closed because of the result of this administration and their failure on coronavirus and how they dealt with it. And he was the head of the task force, and he was at a super spreader event in the Rose Garden of the White House. So she made it very clear that their mismanagement has cost us jobs. It has cost us lives. And she also talked about healthcare. She talked about the Supreme Court and how.
Right. But see, but hold on. Stay on healthcare. Even on particular healthcare. You're absolutely right. She brought that up. But again, this is what I was looking for. This is what I was looking for. I was waiting for her to say, where's your plan? Where's the deal? You keep saying you're going to have one. You're going to have one. Supposed to have 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago. Where's the plan? He said, we have this particular plan. No one said, where's your plan? But when he hit on the Supreme Court, when he pressed her on answering by court packing, I was like, say it, please. I was hoping for she was going to say, I'm sorry, you haven't actually answered one question as soon as asked you tonight, so you're demanding an answer from me? See, that's one of those from a debate standpoint. It's kind of like boom. It's one of those snappy comebacks that's not deep.
I think that. Wait a minute, Roland. I actually think she played that. That was her mic drop moment. That she came and used his words against him when he talked about, "Are you in favor of packing the courts?" When it came back to her, what she said was,
Abraham Lincoln.
Since we're talking about packing the courts, let's talk about how all of these judges have been placed by the administration and not one being black. That was her mic drop moment.
Right. I think that. But when he came back with, you still won't answer my question, I was sitting there saying, hit his ass with, and you haven't answered most of her questions tonight.
Well, I think sometimes, Roland, you don't have to say what is obvious. And I think that what Senator Kamala Harris did tonight is, I didn't think she had to overstate what was clearly obvious. Yes, there were points where, of course, he broke all the rules tonight, but she was very clear. I thought her answer when he talked about packing the court, this is an administration and a president who wants to put on hold coronavirus relief in order to push in the Supreme Court justice that they put forth, that just packed the court. And she talked about how they have systematically packed the court, these federal benches, these lifetime appointments, not one Black judge, and everything that she talked about was very clear and concise. I thought she answered the question well, and that she actually showed the contracts.
There was another moment where I tweeted this when he hit her on her record. He threw something out when he said, "You didn't lift a finger on the First Step Act." Now, look, I have been yelling this from the rafters, and I don't understand what Democrats are doing. The First Step Act was passed by the House Democrats, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. The bill was strengthened in the Senate because of Cory Booker, because of Senator Kamala Harris, because of Dick Durbin and Republican Chuck Grassley. If you look at him, well, that's why he kept bringing up this about Black men, because the Republicans want to get anywhere. They think they can get 20% of Black men. That was a moment, and I had Congressman Jeffries on my show tonight, and I said, Congressman, I don't understand. Why are y'all not taking credit for the work you did on the First Step Act and letting them run with that? And then, of course, when he said, "Oh, Tim Scott's bill," and that's where it's kind of like, I'm sorry, I said bring it to the committee. But the thing, that's what I thought. I thought when he mentioned that, she could have said, "Excuse me, the reason the First Step Act is actually a stronger bill is because of Democrats. Because we said you only wanted to focus on prison reform, and we said it had to be more. We put this in the bill, this in the bill. So don't you dare take credit for the work of Democrats." Again, it's an Achilles heel for Biden and Harris. They're not taking advantage of the work Democrats did on the First Step Act, and they're letting them run scot-free. Thoughts?
I think she did a good job of talking about what this administration would do on day one.
No, I want you to answer my question on the Democrats and the First Step Act. See, you don't be trying to pinch me. No, I'm asking both of y'all. If Democrats, I'm asking both of y'all.
I cannot believe that you just disrespected me calling me a pinch.
I'm asking both of y'all. If Democrats played a huge role in getting the First Step Act, why won't they take credit?
I hear you. I think tonight, I don't know if I think that would have been appropriate. Let me tell you why. I think part of what winds up happening, let me tell you why. I think part of what winds up happening is people will raise what they think Pence was trying to raise, what agenda item they wanted to get out there. And literally sometimes I thought that was an attempt to actually pull her into that conversation, to literally be able to pull that issue up. The truth of the matter is the First Step Act ain't moving nowhere because the Department of Justice is actually working against it. And so that's a larger, more nuanced.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
First of all, no. The federal prison population has declined by 17% as a result of that. Here's my point. That was a moment to say, you and your party obstructed President Barack Obama when it came to criminal justice reform. Democrats were willing to work with you, but y'all were not willing to work with Democrats. And so please, don't you try to sit here and claim in terms of what you've been able to do. And then that's what you could have said. And by the way, stop trying to take credit for what you did with HBCUs. You didn't equalize funding for HBCUs. And as an HBCU graduate, I can talk about that. But see, again, what they've done is that was sort of that moment.
Right.
That moment. Go ahead.
I do
agree. I disagree. I don't think you let your opponent in a debate. You never let your opponent draw you in to a conversation really of what they're using on that platform. I disagree. Maybe in a different form, in a different context, if we wanted to talk about that, I think that's fine. But I think that to allow him to set what is going to be the agenda topic of what she's going to talk about, literally, then he's controlling the conversation.
No. You check him. You don't spend 2 minutes on it.
You're saying what the Democrats will do and what you use that space.
But a weakness, but Latasha, they both have a weakness in criminal justice reform.
This is true.
You gotta own that. And so when you got a weakness, you gotta show up your weakness.
Right, but she wasn't in the House, Roland. That's not her work.
No. You're wrong. She was in the Senate. When it passed the House, it then went to the Senate. Cory Booker, Dick Durbin said, this is not a strong enough bill unless you put these things in it. We're not going to support it. And that's how it got strengthened. So again, she was in the Senate. She can take credit for the First Step Act. I'm just saying to help her and Biden on the criminal justice reform weakness in their deal, you gotta take advantage of something that's sitting right there. That's all I'm saying. So take her.
I mean, I'm going to say, I think that what she focused on was talking about what she and this administration, a Biden-Harris administration, is going to do on day one. And she outlined, I thought it was, I really want us to definitely talk about the fact and make sure we have time to talk about the fact that this debate did lift up the name of Breonna Taylor. I thought that was a powerful moment to hear a question about Breonna Taylor, whether or not there has been justice. I thought that her answer was very strong, that Breonna Taylor, what happened to Breonna Taylor was unjustifiable. And his answer was one where he just looked and said, well, I trust the grand jury, and really challenged her on this question of the grand jury. I thought that she was very strong to push back on that and to make it very clear what most Americans believe, that it was a grave injustice to Breonna Taylor, that she does not have justice. So I thought that she was strong there. And that was a clear example on when we talked about the justice issues where he failed. He failed.
I think that he was very clear about his position. His position, right. He was point blank. He was asked, did he think that justice was served? His answer was yes.
Yes, precisely.
So nothing else. If we don't hear anything else, it doesn't even matter if I don't remember anything else that he said in that discussion. The fact that he believed that justice was served when a Black woman was laying in her bed and was shot and murdered, right, and no one was held accountable to that, then that in itself tells you about his values and how he values Black life.
And that was also a moment. Again, I go back to, I hear what you say, Joe Taker, when you say, oh, something don't have to be said. But again, what has happened is, I believe Biden-Harris overall, for me, has not nailed them to the wall on several different things. She did mention when it came to federal prisons, but that was one of those moments where one is always say, and let's just be clear, Mike Pence, of course, because he kept saying we stand with law enforcement, and he kept going, and I was sitting there like, please say it, please say it. I was hoping her to say, and yes, and y'all are pulling back on police consent decrees because you don't want to hold police accountable. You don't want to hold them accountable for what happened to Philando Castillo and what happened to what happened to Aiyana Jones and what happened to. See, it was again what Pence's whole deal was. We're gonna stand with law and order. You're with those other people out there, as opposed to saying you should be standing with the people who are being impacted and the people, and how taxpayers are out here spending billions of dollars on police settlements, and you say nothing and do nothing. And I really thought when it got to the whole deal about when he mentioned the Confederate monuments, I was hoping she was going to say, and who are the people who are fighting to keep those monuments up? You and Donald Trump. Who is fighting to keep the Confederate flag up? You and Donald Trump. You tell me whose side y'all are on. I was like, oh, hit him.
We're about to recruit you to be on the ticket because he was like, this is what you need to say, right?
I'm just channeling his inner Black woman tonight.
Look, hey, y'all know. When we debate. And my deal is, it's like Muhammad Ali when he fought Sonny Liston. Natasha, remember that punch?
The standards, Roland. No.
Natasha, remember that Muhammad Ali punch when he went?
I get you on one hand though. Let me tell you where I think the this male power is coming in. You hold it at two different standards. Now you started off saying that the first thing that they have to do is literally create have no harm, right? By the end of this conversation,
no, hold on. No. Let me correct you. No. Let me correct you. Let me correct you. What I said was, this is how the Biden camp was thinking. I ain't say how Roland was thinking.
Oh, okay, I got you.
No, the Biden camp. No. Let me be real clear.
You didn't sign up for that.
No, I was real clear. I ain't signed up for that. I was like, whoop his ass. So the deal that the Biden camp, again, how they think, do this, do no harm, smile, all those different things, don't get combative. Because, I know somebody said, let's not be the angry Black woman.
To the American people.
You know that's real. That's real, Roland.
I know that's real. All I'm saying is, I just thought there were several moments when he said something, I was like, hoping just like, Okay, back. Swap. Go back. See, I ain't saying you got to go 45 seconds.
Okay.
Just swap. Come on back. Go ahead, Jateka.
I know we don't have that much time left, but can we? I don't mean to be petty, but can we please talk about the fly though? I mean,
Let's talk about the fly.
Look, flies are used to landing on shit.
I was like, literally, I saw the fly. I was saying myself, I was in the middle of commentary, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, God don't like ugly. God don't like ugly.
Flies and lies. You know,
flies like you. And flies love to sit on some mess. They love to sit on some mess. And so,
what rhymes with it? What rhymes with flies? Lies. That's what you
lies. Right.
I'm just again, look, coming into this whole deal, you understand what you got. You look at what the overall strategy of the campaign. Look, she's not the nominee. Her job is to support Joe. When they brought up the green, the Green New Deal, boom, she's stick and move. She's like, we ain't getting into that. That's what your particular job is. And so
I think she did a great job tonight, I believe. And it was historic for Black women. As a Black woman from the South, to see a Black woman on that debate stage, she came out there strong. I believe that despite him just doing what often happens to Black women, railroading the conversation, rolling over the moderator, speaking over everyone, taking all the time, she was strong. It was powerful. I'm proud that my little Haley May and my little Paisley in South Carolina can watch television tomorrow because they are.
Whoa. Yes. Did your ass just say Haley May?
I did. Don't speak up for Haley May tonight now.
That's right. Come on.
Your ass just say, look, if y'all did not know that Jateka was from South Carolina, you damn sure know now when she said my little Haley May.
That's right.
Go ahead, Latasha.
And my little Black girls everywhere will see this moment. They will see this. It will stand the test of time. They will see that a Black woman came out. She was strong. She was on the facts. And they will see that she made a very clear case to the American public of why not only she deserves to be on this ticket, but why she is strong and why she is the perfect governing partner with Vice President Joe Biden.
Let's talk about.
No, Roland, I just want to say briefly that I do think that she did well. She had a nice landing around. It's when she came out and started giving the facts around COVID-19, how the administration handled COVID-19. I thought she was very clear and it was very like, these are the facts. Bam, 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 bam. And this is what you all didn't do. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, because here's the deal. Bottom line is you lay that out. The reality is you look at the polling data. Americans increasing number are not trusting Donald Trump and Mike Pence. And the reality is what we're also seeing, and it's just, look, it's in the numbers. I mean, but look, they've got a phrase, ball don't lie. An increasing number of white voters older voters are shifting over to the Biden campaign. When she talked about when she did mention it, I did think it was great when she mentioned the point about voter suppression. That was critically important because that is part of the Republican strategy as well. And again,
just quickly, that she did a really good job when she talked about that they lost the trade war. I thought that was a great point as well.
Right. The only thing, just with a little nitpick, the only thing I was hoping she would have said in that point when she said we lost the trade war, what she said, lean in, Pence. How much higher is the trade deficit today? It just hit an all-time high. So I thought y'all said it was going to be lower. I thought you said you were gonna lower the trade deficit. It hasn't happened. Y'all failed.
She alluded. She also made a very good point. She talked about jobs, the number of jobs that have been lost by this.
No. I got you. But here's the deal. Here's my whole point. Here's the deal. When somebody says we've lost jobs, first of all, that's like a phrase that can be seen anyway. When you say the trade deficit is now 67 trillion, whatever the hell it is, y'all said it was supposed to be lower. It isn't. Y'all failed. You lost the war.
I think what she did, listen, what she said, Roland, immediately after that is that we've lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. If I want to use time within, listen, in the American public, I'm not talking about political wants. I'm saying if regular folks are looking at it, understanding what the trade deficit is, most folks don't understand that, right? But people understand the loss of 300,000 jobs.
But they also understand a big old number like 67 billion.
I didn't know what Latasha is saying. Right. You know, Latasha's from the South. I'm from the South too. So when you talk about
Texas,
so is Roland.
Yeah,
Texas.
Manufacturing jobs, that speaks to the heart of America. That speaks to everyday Americans who are at home watching this. They know that, they feel that because it is their jobs. Yes, it's important to talk about, you know, the trade deficit and all of those numbers, but what we have to do is America, and she spoke to America.
Here's my whole point. My man Joe Madison has a phrase when he says, you gotta put it where the goats can get it. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying you go into a dissertation on the trade deficit. What you simply say is the trade deficit now is at its highest it's been in 30 years. And y'all said that was not going to be the case. Vice President Pence, you and Trump failed America.
And I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing that that's a valid point.
I'm just saying.
Maybe a good point, but the truth of the matter is 300,000 jobs, that's going to perk up people's attention far greater than when you're saying the trade deficit. She had
follow me here. You
go back and listen to her answer. She had 2 minutes.
I heard her answer. But here's my deal. Here's my deal. For instance, when she said farmers have lost their jobs. And again, this is why we analyze debates. I'm also about being rapid fire specific. Wisconsin dairy farmers have been filing bankruptcy. Iowa soybean farmers have been filing bankruptcy. Ohio farmers have been filing bankruptcy. Y'all have failed the people of Ohio, of Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa. Guess what? All battleground states. That's all I'm saying. If versus saying 300,000 jobs, now I'm just saying be a little more specific. Boom.
I mean, 300,000 is kind of specific.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm telling you. If I'm debating you, and I hit your ass with dairy farmers in Wisconsin, soybean farmers in Iowa. See, now all of a sudden you like this. This is what I want to see.
You may be right, Roland. You were trying to just win a debate. That's not what today was for. That's not even what
to the American people tonight.
Yes, it was.
Like literally, even
I'm trying to win. I told you I wanted to knock his ass out.
Well, and then there's that.
I do believe I know we have to go, but I believe that tonight Kamala Harris won the debate.
Hey, hold up. It's 11:35. We got 25 minutes.
He was strong. Win with black women. Trust black women. All day, every day.
Roland got his debate done on tonight. He's ready.
Oh, you know I'm ready to swing.
I'm from the South. I'm from Texas.
Look, I'm all about hitting your ass with rapid fire facts. But all you left with, that's what I wanted. I wanted Mr.
But also, Roland,
hold up. I got one thing. Kamala and Joe, I need y'all to stop only talking about Roe v. Wade and the Affordable Care Act when it comes to Supreme Court. Damn it, y'all gotta mention voting rights. You gotta make that as the third major pillar of your argument against a conservative Supreme Court. I got a problem with that when they only say Affordable Care Act is on the agenda. Roe v. Wade is on. Damn it, voting rights is on. The Supreme Court has picked up the case out of Arizona where they could invalidate Section 2. They've already done Section 4. All I'm saying is I need them not to leave voting rights and civil rights out of their argument against the Supreme Court. That's my thought.
Absolutely. You have no argument with me on that.
Yes, voting rights is absolutely important. I think that this administration, I believe that this party is going to continue to talk about it, and they should talk about it more.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we've got to really be able to lift up and say what this sister had a job to do and she did it. That she came tonight. She did not create any harm for our candidate. She actually, I think she represented the platform well. She came with facts. She did not get, it's really interesting, even though I think that she was treated unfairly, you didn't see her be shuffled. You didn't see her literally be unsettled. She was very focused. She was very calm and she stood her ground. And that's all the sister can do.
And let me go ahead and say this.
And she came and she was great tonight. And again, it was a historic night. She was strong. I believe that if America did not know Senator Kamala Harris before tonight, I believe they have a better understanding of who she is. And I think that after tonight, there's no question about her leadership and her ability to lead on day one.
Let me say this here again, and I just want to help some folk out. The point of this show is post-debate analysis, which means we talk about what should have been brought up, what could have been brought up, praise, stuff like that. This ain't about to sit here and just make it a Kamala Harris, everything was wonderful. It's called the post-debate analysis show. So stop sending me text messages.
Wait a minute. Listen, don't frame what we're saying as we're saying that she claimed to have a job. We're clear about what a debate is, right? We're clear about what the framework of this debate was about. You know as well as we do. And so
I bet. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I bet we didn't realize.
The pieces that I think that Roland raised, I think are great. I think it's a question around the forum. I think it's a question around what was responsible today. So, because Roland ain't going to sit over there and act like if she wasn't punching him in the face, if the headlines tomorrow wasn't going to be angry black woman. Like, you're not going to sit over there and act like if she had a certain kind of way that the whole focus would have been on her, like it has been on previous debates. So we're going to be honest about what we're working in the confines in some ways of a racist, sexist political framework. And
I can knock you in your mouth and smile.
To be a black woman in America,
I can knock you in your mouth and smile.
The most disrespected person is a black woman. And
I think she did that a couple times
tonight, and she still held her ground and she still represented. And I believe, I think if you ask America tonight, who won that debate, who they resonated with, I believe they will say Senator Kamala Harris.
I have had some black women knock folk the hell out smiling.
I think she did that a couple of times. So don't act like she didn't. Don't act like she didn't bring some fire now.
She got spicy a couple of times.
Don't act like
deal. If she got spicy, it was like a 2-piece spicy. I was looking for a family pack spice.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you were trying to go to Popeyes and you got you got to go to Church's Chicken and you got KFC. That's what it was.
Baby, churches ain't even in this conversation. Churches that don't even. All I'm just saying is I like it a little spicier. That's just roll. Like, because I'm telling you, if y'all go back, Joe Biden was real spicy in that VP debate against Paul Ryan in 2012.
But once again, as
you see her debate against Joe Biden, she was spicy, and what happened? They dragged her. So we're gonna be honest about the role.
Yeah, but that's also the case when you're on stage with 48 people.
Yes, it's also on the case when you're on stage with white folks, right?
Yeah,
white male that is using his male privilege. We saw it in action tonight, Roland, where she didn't deference that he got. So let's be honest about what we were working with.
And that's why I told you
over again tonight, Roland. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
That's why I told you I wish Susan Page had checked him. I need Susan Page to sit here and stop saying, "Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President." I need her to say, "Excuse me, you are done. Time is up." I will put $100. I will put $100 on the table right now. Kristen Welker ain't gonna do that. Now, Kristen, don't make me lose no damn money.
Well, you guys, I guess we got an extra treat tonight. We not only witnessed one debate, we witnessed 2 debates. So.
Hey, look, we got to keep everybody awake, and it's great. We got more than 8,000 people watching right now, and I can tell y'all there are some other platforms that are much larger, and they got a couple hundred people. So we kept it spicy in our post-debate analysis. And so I appreciate it. Joteka, Latasha, First of all, we're gonna do. First of all, how much? Ava, they told me we had till midnight.
Well, I was told at 11:30. So by my agenda, we're like about 12 minutes late. We're on, VP time.
Oh, okay. Well, look, since I'm still moderating, let's do this here, Latasha. I'm gonna be real black like a lot of these preachers. I ain't gonna let your little singing ass sit here and just run your mouth all night. You're gonna have to lead black people with some sort of inspirational song. It ain't gonna be no A and B selection. So go ahead. In the words of Pastor, let the Lord use you.
Let the Lord use it. You know what? If we don't need to hear anything else, this song is what we need to hear. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom's land. This is the moment, if ever, in the history of this country, where we don't need to let anything or anybody turn us around. We are literally up against fascism. We are up against racism. When you tell your boys to stand by and stand back and you talking to the Proud Boys, you got to go. So I'm just hoping that people that are listening to this, that we listen, we analyze the debate, but if you don't do anything else, you need to get yourself to the polls. As Roland will say, get your butt to the polls. But I say take 10 to win. Come on, y'all.
Make a vote plan. Make sure that you know that I cannot stress. Again, I say this all the time. Look at your neighbor. If you're in the house with somebody, look at somebody and say power. Power. Because this is about power. This fight, voter suppression, is about suppressing our power. So if you don't have a vote plan, make a vote plan. Request your absentee ballot. Request your mail-in ballot. Go to vote.org. You can go to www.naacp.org. You can go to blackvotersmatterfund.org. You can go to so many websites. The thing that we have to do as a people is make sure that we vote. And I don't want to be cliche, but I'm going to call in, my fellow South Carolinian, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said that a voteless people is a hopeless people. So we have to make sure that we are out here voting and that we're taking people to the polls, because there is so much at stake. There is literally life is on the line. So make a vote plan and vote, my friends.
My final word. Latasha, go ahead.
I was going to say, Joe Tech, I just left your state, South Carolina. Let me tell you, black folks in South Carolina are fired up. We on early voting, they were out there in numbers. And so I'm just saying that there's an energy out here, y'all. Like, our people know what time it is. We just got to do what we need to do and show up.
All right. I'm going to close with this. I read this on the show tonight, and I need y'all to understand why we keep telling you to go to vote.org and go to iwillvote.com to double check your registration. Right. I have been hammering this for months because we've seen voter purging taking place all across the country. I literally got this email today at 4:47 p.m. I'm not going to get a brother's name, but this is what he sent me. Uncle Roro, I just wanted to let you know how thankful I am for you enlightening the community about staying vigilant during this election season and checking our voter status. Because of you, just 1 month ago, I checked my voter status online and my status showed that I was a registered voter. Due to all of the shenanigans by these devils trying to suppress our votes around the country, I decided on yesterday to check my status again. To my surprise, the message indicated that I was not a registered voter. He said today in Missouri is the last day to register. So I got my ass up this morning and drove to the St. Louis Board of Election office because the bastards were not answering their phone, and I raised hell about my election status. After a few choice words with one of the workers there, and after the bullshit excuse she gave me as to why my voter status had been changed, I was able to correct it. I shudder to think what a betrayal it would be to my black family in this country if my vote did not count because I did not know my status. There is no way in hell I would miss voting in this election to get this known crazy ass hateful racist out of the White House. Y'all, I'm reading verbatim. I'm in tears today. I cannot thank you enough for your diligence in challenging your audience on your show to check our voter status. Voter suppression is real. Please keep warning the people. People's failure to vote in this election is a slap in the face of every Black person around the world. Thank you, Uncle Roro. Because of you, my vote will count. He's from St. Louis. I've had brothers from Houston, Arizona, North Carolina send me similar emails. So I need y'all to go to vote.org or iwillvote.com. Check your registration. Do not assume you're registered. You may have been purged.
That's right.
That brother, that's what he did. And so that's my final point. Don't assume because they are trying to steal the election. You don't let them. And that's why we got to do what we got to do and shut up and vote.
That's right.
That's very true.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? That is a great note to end this on. It's nothing better than to say vote. I mean, that's the best last word. So thank you so much for our amazing second panel. This has been an amazing night of post-debate analysis, Roland and everyone else. Absolutely. But before we get out of here, we need to thank our amazing partners because as I said before, Black media matters, Black organizations matter. And so thank you to the Griot. Thank you to Blavity. Thank you to Revolt TV. Thank you to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thank you to Lunch Table. And of course, thank you to Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote for doing the work of amassing the amazing brilliance that you brought together for tonight's analysis. Listen, we're going to take that charge that we were given a few minutes ago and put it into action. Vote. Vote early. Make sure your vote counts because let me tell you, if it didn't, they wouldn't be doing everything they're doing, trying to take away from you. Okay? Go vote and have a wonderful evening.